Welcome back to another video where we unravel the mysteries of the past. From ancient technologies that baffle modern scientists to archaeological finds that rewrite history, we've got it all. So grab a drink, sit back, and let's dive into the enigmatic world of yesteryear. You won't believe what our ancient ancestors were capable of. Back when Algeria belonged to the ancient Romans, they built a bathhouse in El Hama town, Cancella province. More than 2,000 years later, the bathhouse is still there, and it's still used by hundreds of people every day. The bathhouse is called Hammam es-Salihin, but also has the nickname the Bath of the Righteous. Local folklore says that the water here has therapeutic qualities. Widespread belief in those healing powers is part of the reason that more than 700,000 tourists visit the baths every year. It's not totally accurate to say that everything at the site is exactly as it was when the Romans left it, because it had to be extensively rebuilt after an earthquake in the 14th century. But the majority of the architecture was put back into place exactly the way it had appeared previously, and much of the original structure remains. Today, you'll find the pool surrounded by massage therapists, physiotherapists, and other facilities that wouldn't have been available to the Romans. But aside from that, they're still used in precisely the same way they were 2,000 years ago. Is the Iron Pillar of Delhi an example of steelwork that was over 1,000 years ahead of its time, or a happy accident? Scientists have never been able to agree on the answer to that question, and it's possible that they never will. What can be said with certainty is that the pillar, which is sometimes also known as the Ashoki Pillar, has stood proudly and resolutely rust-free in Delhi, India for 1,500 years. The entire surface of the 22-foot-tall monument is coated in an incredibly thin layer of mesowite, which prevents the iron beneath it from exposure to oxygen, which would result in the formation of rust. Quite how such a technically complex task could be achieved by the primitive coal furnaces of 1,500 years ago is unknown. Scientists think that it might have been a freak event caused by the iron mixing with slag, lime, and damp air while it cooled. As the people who made it would have had no idea that the rust-proof coating even existed, they'd have viewed it as a miracle. It took several centuries for anyone to come up with a deliberate form of rust-proofing, so either the Indians kept their secrets, or they never intended to rust-proof the pillar at all. Archimedes is credited with a number of the most incredible inventions of the ancient world, including the Archimedes screw. While he deserves acclaim and credit for most of his inventions, he has nothing to do with the Archimedes screw whatsoever. It's been mistakenly associated with him, but all he did was write about an invention that he saw in action when he visited Egypt in the year 234 BCE. He was told by Egyptians that the invention had already existed for some time by then, and that the secret of who came up with the idea had been lost to time. Whoever invented it, it's a remarkable feat of engineering. It's the first water displacement pump in world history, and has been used to pump water from the River Nile. There's even a suggestion that an Archimedes screw was the centerpiece of the irrigation system that fed the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. A possible reference to the existence of such a screw has been identified in an inscription associated with King Sennacherib of Assyria, who lived 500 years before Archimedes was born. How have we forgotten the name of such an important inventor, one who came up with a concept that's still used all over the world today? We barely even know how to start explaining this next archaeological puzzle, which was found on the Balkan Peninsula in early 2019. There, a research group led by historian Ismet Smiley found this bizarre and incredibly complex stone object on Motley Mountain in the Shar Planina mountain range. The exterior of the object is made from the same stone that forms most of the mountain range, but inside it are copper objects that appear to be modern-day transformers fused into the stone itself. Such a formation ought to be impossible because the melting point of copper is far lower than the melting point of the stone. Any attempt to fuse copper conductors into stone like this should destroy the copper, but it hasn't done. There is zero chance that this object was created through chance or any natural process. It has not only coils but wires, casings, insulators, and contacts. It's capable of holding voltage, and must have been designed to do so, but it's believed to be at least 200,000 years old. The questions of whoever made it, how they made it, and when they made it remain unsolved. Byzantine fire grenades are the kind of topic that'll make you sit up and take notice. These incendiary devices were the medieval equivalent of modern-day Molotov cocktails, and they were a game-changer in warfare. Originating around the reign of Leo III between 717 and 741, the ceramic jars were filled with the infamous Greek fire, a secret formula so potent it could even burn on water. The grenades were about the size of a small melon, making them easy to throw by hand in short-range conflicts. But don't let their size fool you. These devastating weapons could also be hurled by catapults or trebuchets for long-range attacks. Once they hit their target, a boom! They'd shatter, spewing out Greek fire that was nearly impossible to extinguish. Whether used against wooden ships at sea or fortifications on land, these grenades were a Byzantine trump card that kept enemies at bay for centuries. So, the next time you think of ancient warfare, remember it wasn't all swords and shields. Sometimes it was fire and explosions, medieval style. Oh, and by the way, we still haven't solved the riddle of exactly what went into making Greek fire. It's still a mystery. The Pont du Gard is a Roman aqueduct bridge that stands as a testament to ancient engineering prowess. Located in southern France, it was built in the 1st century CE to transport water over 31 miles to the Roman colony of Nemausus, now modern-day Nîmes. Comprising 3 tiers of arches and reaching a height of 160 feet, the structure was crafted from Shelly limestone with remarkable precision. The aqueduct could carry about 8.8 million imperial gallons of water daily, maintaining a gradient of just 0.39 inches per 598 feet, a feat that leaves many modern engineers in awe. Despite falling into disuse around the 6th century, the structure has survived remarkably well, serving various roles, including that of a toll bridge. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of France's most visited landmarks, having undergone multiple restorations to withstand the ravages of time and nature, including 3 major floods in the last century. The Pont du Gard stands as a dual symbol of Roman ingenuity and French cultural heritage, intriguing us with questions about ancient technology and the ethics of modernizing such venerable structures. When it comes to telling the time, the most popular way of doing so in China and India prior to the invention of the modern-day clock was the incense clock. There's a lot of disagreement between experts about who invented the incense clock and when. We know that it was popular in China by the time of the Song dynasty in the 10th century and spread from China to Korea and Japan. But the history of the device can be traced back to the 8th century in India. Some sources indicate that the Indians actually got the idea from Chinese inventors, who came up with the first incense clock in the 6th century. But the reliability of those sources is where the debate comes from. In basic terms, each incense clock holds either an incense stick or incense powder that's been carefully manufactured to burn at a very specific speed. As such, it's possible to work out what day it is or how much time has passed by checking how much of the stick or the powder inside the clock has burned. More advanced models contain gongs and bells that would automatically ring to indicate the passing of an hour or a day. Leonardo da Vinci's helicopter concept is a marvel of imagination that predates actual helicopters by 400 years. Da Vinci's design featured a screw-like vertical blade spiraling around its central axis, quite different from the flat rotor blades we're familiar with today. The concept was fundamentally sound, relying on the aerial screw to push air downward and thus propel the craft upward. However, Da Vinci faced limitations in materials and power. He envisioned the helical screw to be made of linen stiffened with starch, and the power source to be a spring wound by men turning cranks. Modern engineers have revisited this concept, using advanced materials and drone technology. In 2020, a team of engineering students conducted a detailed study and even managed to make a drone fly using a modified version of Da Vinci's design. They used Dacron for the blade material and aluminum for the vertical prop shaft, achieving a balance between strength and weight. While we might not see Da Vinci delivery drones anytime soon, this experiment serves as a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity. The Mayan calendar has always been a subject of fascination and is often associated with doomsday prophecies. Archaeologists in San Bartolo, Guatemala, have unearthed what they believe to be the oldest known Mayan calendar notation, dating back to between 300 and 200 BCE. This site is no stranger to groundbreaking discoveries. It's the same place where the earliest Mayan inscriptions were found in 2006. The recent find consists of 2 mural fragments that feature a calendar symbol for 7 deer, represented by a dot on top of a bar and a line drawing of a deer's head. This 260-day calendar was widely used in ancient Mesoamerica and still holds significance in some indigenous communities in southern Mexico and Guatemala today. The Mayans had other calendars too, like the solar, lunar, and long count calendars. Radiocarbon dating has helped pinpoint the age of these fragments, which were found in a complex featuring a pyramid, a ball court, and a long platform. The discovery not only confirms the calendar's use for at least 23 centuries, but also challenges theories that try to pinpoint the origin of Mesoamerican writing to a single geographic location. In the 2,000-year-old House of the Amphitheater, also known as the Casa del Anfiteatro in Mérida, Spain, archaeologists have unearthed the well-preserved remains of a massive public bath area. The house, built by the Romans in a colony they called Augusta Emerita, contained baths of an extraordinary size for a standard Roman house. These baths would have belonged to a private residence, or perhaps a set of private residences, but they would have been widely shared. Hence, they could still be labeled as public baths. It's even possible that the baths might have been a focal point of grand parties held by the property's owner. And by parties, we're sure you can all imagine what we actually mean. The bathing area featured individual bathing facilities in excellent condition, along with ample wall and floor decorations, including marble plaques, moldings, paintings, and various underground structures associated with the baths. The House of the Amphitheater is part of the Archaeological Ensemble of Mérida, recognized as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1993. This discovery offers a fascinating glimpse into the luxurious lifestyle of the Roman elite in ancient Spain. Why were the ancient Romans so fond of making dodecahedrons? If you can answer that question, you'll have outperformed every expert and archaeologist who's ever studied them. You'll find them buried at Roman archaeological sites in every former territory of the Roman Empire, but we have no idea what their significance or purpose might have been. They also often turn up in ancient Roman shipwrecks, which might point to the idea of them being navigational aids of some kind, but we can't work out how they might have helped with such a task. What we do know is that the Romans carried on making them for centuries. The earliest examples of dodecahedrons are made from stone, but later versions are crafted from bronze instead. Some archaeologists have suggested that they might have been ornate candlestick holders, but that seems unlikely based on the fact that none of them has any traces of wax on their surfaces. Another idea is that they might have been part of a Roman game of some kind. Roman soldiers were fond of board games to pass the time, so that's possible, but there's still no evidence to support the idea. There are so many examples of this strange Roman preoccupation that we have to classify them as a mystery hiding in plain sight. It's entirely possible that the Phaistos disk bears a message from our ancient ancestors that might tell us 100 things we don't know about them, and the era in which they lived. Unfortunately, we're having a hard job translating it, and it's doubtful that we'll ever crack the code. The heavily decorated disk was found in the remains of a Minoan palace on the Greek island of Crete many years ago, and it's been puzzling scientists ever since. There are more than 200 different inscriptions on the disk, and not one of them corresponds with any form of written language discovered anywhere else on the planet. With no substantial evidence to go on, the meaning of the disk is wide open to interpretation. Some people think that it might be a calendar. Others suspect that it might contain a prayer written in the secret language of a long-forgotten religious cult. There are too many symbols for the text to represent an alphabet, and yet too few for it to constitute a script. The maze-like spiral design was probably significant to its designers also, but we can't fathom the purpose of that either. It's a total enigma. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!